Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Snorton, Murin. Voting in opposition, Hildebrand. Abstaining, Clausen. Motion carries.
Okay, item 26, and I would just preface it by reiterating what Danny said, and also look for a recommendation here, either removing this from the table and voting no, or just leaving it as is and not taking it up whatsoever.
I would just leave it, and I would advise not even to put forth the motion to take it from the table, and then it just dies and we can move on.
So we're essentially skipping item 26 unless anyone has objections to that. Hearing none, item 27, I would look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5887, authorizing the conveyance of property located near 610 West Norfolk Avenue. Ordinance number 5887 passed on first reading at the June 3rd council meeting and on second reading at the June 17th council meeting.
I'll make a motion for consideration of ordinance number 5887.
Second that.
And motion and second for final reading here, so therefore no discussion, but short title, please.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to authorize the transfer of city property, to provide the terms of transfer and authorize the mayor to execute and deliver a quick claim deed to the property, to provide for a remonstrance to said transfer as provided by law, to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for the publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Snorton, Murin. Voting in opposition, Hildebrand. Abstaining, Clausen. Ordinance number 5887 carries on third reading.
All right, that takes us to item 28. I would look for a motion to consider approval to acquire property located at 610 West Norfolk Avenue. Approval of this item was tabled at the June 17th council meeting. So we'd first have to remove from the table.
I'll make a motion to remove from the table.
Second.
Motion second to remove from the table. Please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Snorton, Hildebrand, Murin. Motion to remove from the table carries.
Okay, now the underlying resolution, acquisition of property. Would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion for consideration of approval to acquire property located at 610 West Norfolk Avenue.
I'll second that.
Motion second. Any discussion on this, council? Or anything to add here, Danny?
Nothing to add.
Okay. All right. Further discussion or input? Hearing none, please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Snorton, Murin. Voting in opposition, Hildebrand. Abstaining, Clausen. Motion carries.
Okay, the last item of this series, item 29, would look for a motion to consider resolution 2024-26, approving the final plat of Midwest Health Partner subdivision. Approval of resolution 2024-26 was tabled at the June 17th council meeting. Therefore, would need first a motion to remove from the table.
I'll make a motion to remove from the table.
Second.
Motion second to remove from the table. Please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Arns, Snorton, Hildebrand, Murin. Abstaining, Clausen. Motion to remove resolution 2024-26 from the table is approved.
Then look for a motion to consider underlying resolution 2024-26.
I'll offer for consideration Resolution 2024-26, approving the final plat of Midwest Health.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion on this, staff or council? Any public input? Hearing none, please vote.
Voting in the affirmative, McCarthy, Granquist, Snorton, Hildebrand, Murin. Abstaining, Clausen. Resolution 2024-26 is adopted.
Item 30, would entertain a motion to consider approval of letter agreement amendment number 3 with Olson Incorporated for preparation of construction documents for the screw pump station and flood berm at the WPC plant for an amount not to exceed $275,000.
I'll make a motion for consideration of approval.
Second.
Motion and second. For some background on this, we'll hear from Rob Huntley, our wastewater operations director.
Mayor, Council, this agreement contract includes bidding services and construction management services for the screw pump station and flood berm project. This includes construction of new screw pump system and to assist plant effluent and the egress to the Elkhorn River, even when the river is experiencing flood conditions, and construction of a flood berm around the WPC plant. This contract was discussed at the June 17th, 2024 Infrastructure Subcommittee. Staff recommends approval. This is kind of going back to our flood wall and screw pump. We've had some flooding events in 2010 and in 2019 that about took the plant offline. We went out and were awarded a NEMA grant, or a hazardous mitigation grant. And so this is kind of getting that project rolling forward, as it does have some time constraints on the grants. That is what this one is about.
All right, thank you, Rob. Any questions?
So this would help keep you online in the event of a flood?
Yes. It basically puts us in a bowl with a big pump that pumps the water out. One of the issues that we have too is when we're kind of in between two rivers. We're kind of sit right in the middle of it. So when when the Elkhorn River is up, we have a tough time getting our effluent out to the river because of the head pressure. So this screw pump will allow us to push that water into the river. So it keeps us operational even just during a regular flooding event or a high water event. But the 2019, we were within inches of losing the whole plant.
I see.
They were able to keep it alive, but just barely. So this would give us a 500-year plus one. So it's a great project. It adds a lot of security to our facility. So
So when you say 500-year, you're above the 500-year flood
500
event,
year
right?
flood
Okay.
event plus
Yeah,
one.
Plus one, okay. Well, this is perfect timing, because those, well, if you watch the news, some of the
Yeah.
plants north of us are struggling, and they're
Yeah,
just
they
dumping
are.
right,
Yeah, they are
dumping right in the
struggling.
river.
So it's a great project. I think it's a much needed project. Like I said, we've had several events in the last, from 2010, we had a big event, 2019, we had a big event. And that, one was each river, one was the North Fork, the 2019 was the North Fork event, the other one was the Elkhorn event. So we kind of sit a little bit low out there. It doesn't take a whole lot to do it, but being able to push that effluent out is big as well.
So what's it, pick it up, push it up higher than
Yeah, so
500?
it's basically, if you can kind of imagine.
It's like a lift station, like
Yeah,
a
it's
giant
two
lift
big
station.
augers that
Okay.
just will push that water up over and then push it out and
see.
into our pipe that goes out to the river,
Okay.
so. It allows the plant to stay up and operational even during flood events, so.
So with 500 plus one, I assume that's 500-year flood.
Flood plus one.
So how tall is the berm, just out of curiosity?
There's several, because, around the plant, the berm is actually has to be raised, to the north end of the plant, maybe about a foot, but as we get to the back of the plant where the old river channel was at, that's where the screw, goes in. That comes up probably like 3 to 4 feet, I believe. So.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Rob. Any public input on this? Okay. Hearing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item 31, entertain a motion to consider approval of letter agreement amendment number 4 with Olson Incorporated for construction management services for the WPC improvements project for an amount not to exceed $824,000.
I'll offer for consideration approval of a letter agreement amendment number 4 with Olson's.
Second?
Motion and second, and Rob, once again, give us some background on this.
I'm back. So this is, we passed the GRIT project, so this is the construction management of it. The project description is for the WPC improvement project that includes construction of the new grit removal system, overland waste receiving station, non-potable water system, rehab of the primary clarifier number 2 in the north lift station. This was originally attached to amendment number 3, so there is some verbiage here that we'll have to strike off that they had, and we just missed it. There's nothing else in the scope. It says, and this is what would have to be struck. This project also includes preparation for the final bid documents and permitting for this screw pump system and berm project. So that will need to be struck from the agreement. Olson's has done that. We just didn't get it done in time before the council. So this project management also includes SCADA programming, lots of, startup training, lots of different pieces of the engineering of this. One of the things is we do out there, it's all required to be engineered as far as the NDE is concerned. So this is to get the project kind of finished up, get her rolling. So.
Rob, I do have a question for you.
Absolutely.
When are you looking at implementation of this
I think that
system?
we should see probably some things within the next month, starting.
And then estimated completion?
Probably their October 25th, I think of 2025 for completion. Yeah, this is a big project, lots going on. JT Jones is just finishing up a project over in Wakefield, and so they'll be moving over. We've already been in conversations with them. Once we get this kind of buttoned up here, that we should see some progression out there, so.
Is there any overlap of services here with the 275 and the 824 as far as approving both contracts, or just totally separate?
Just totally separate.
Okay.
Any other questions? And as this is related to the grit equipment, I think, necessary step towards a long-term investment that will protect the facility and make it more efficient and keep it running efficiently for years to come. So, necessary process. Thank you, Rob. Any other comments or discussion?
If there's language that needs to be struck, we'll want to amend the contract with that specific language
Right.
struck, and then we'll go back to the main motion to approve the contract, so.
Do I hear a motion in that regard?
I'd make that motion, Your Honor. Second.
Motion second to amend, correcting the technical language in
Yeah,
question.
to strike, can you read that specific
You bet.
language that we're gonna
And
strike, please?
it's in the agenda, but it's the last sentence of the project description and location. It says, "This project also includes preparation of final bid documents and permitting for the screw pump system and berm project."
Okay.
I just have to strike that.
Okay,
I
yep,
do have the current, I give you to Brianna,
yep,
the current contract with them as amended
okay,
as well.
perfect, thank
Okay,
you.
there's a motion and second for that amendment, striking that language. Any discussion on that? If not,
I just have one more question. Does the dollar amount stay the same with that stricken from?
Yes, it was just, originally when it was all put together, it was a whole different contract. They just missed that piece of verbiage when they struck it out, so.
okay. Any other questions? If not, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion to amend carries.
Okay, back to the underlying amended letter agreement amendment. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item 32 would look for a motion to consider approval of agreement for services with Street Scan USA Incorporated for the street scanning project for an amount not to exceed $60,711.
I'll offer for consideration the approval of agreement for services with Street Scan USA.
Motion and second. For some background on this, we'll hear from Steve Ramus, our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, as stated here, this is a contract with StreetScan for updating our payment management system. Our first scan, we had moved over to the StreetScan Street Logic system back in 2019. We had a scan done in 2019. That's been 4 years now. A couple of reasons that we need to get this done is, number one, doing this on about a 3 to 4 year basis helps us establish a deterioration, a city-specific deterioration curve, which addresses or looks at our specific payments and the various factors that cause those to deteriorate. And every community is slightly different. So this would allow us to get the second scan into that deterioration, and then update our payment condition index. The other thing this does is, after 2019, we had the larger annex, where we annexed several surrounding areas. A couple of them on the east side had a substantial amount of street in them. The Suburban Acres area, Eastern Heights, as well as other areas around the community. So this scan would then bring those streets into our payment management system. The other thing it does is on the street logic side, that is where we build out various scenarios for the maintenance of our streets. And again, having all of our streets in there, it allows us to use that software to decide where our dollars need to go, and it's going to be provide us the best benefit. We have, since 2019, we have not used it extensively, just from a staffing perspective. I'd say in the last 6 to 9 months now, our engineering staff and our street staff have been working together on the street logic side of this to build in some of the data that is not collected during the street scan process. As we continue to work on this and build on this, as we would get grants or receive other dollars to put into the system, we'd be able to run various scenarios that would help tell us where we're going to get the most improvement in our street system from the dollars that we have available. So they are currently working in other communities here in Nebraska as well. I did not bring that list with me. I intended to. So we are not the only community here. We see a lot of value to this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you'd have.
Steve, you mentioned grants, applying for grants. Would having a resource like Street Scan and the data that they provide you, would that be required or necessary when applying for those grants, or do you think it would at least aid in that?
I think it definitely aid in that on the federal side, where we're chasing like the RAISE grant. We currently have a couple of those in. We're in partnership with the county on that. One of them we've put in for ourselves. They look at alternatives analysis as part of their process for awarding grants, and so this would allow us more flexibility and a deeper reach as we're looking at different alternatives on how to spend money, even within a specific corridor. One of the things that we do is, Street Scan, most of our asphalt streets are asphalt on concrete. Well, Street Scan can't see that. So we go into the system and we have to tell it that this is a 2-inch mill or 2-inch asphalt on a concrete subsurface. So there's things like that we have to get in there and do. But again, as specifically more recently on that raise grant, yes, the more we can describe to the Department of Transportation that we're looking at those alternatives, different ways, are we gonna reconstruct it? Are we gonna do more of a heavy mill and overlay? Are we gonna do crack and seat? We can do those alternative analysis much faster. And when you're looking at multiple corridors or more of an area of the city that you want to do that work, it goes, it uses an AI process back there and goes through and does all that calculation for you to tell you, this is the scenario it would recommend, a crack and seat here, mill and overlay there, full reconstruction here. And again, it's about how do we get that overall pavement condition up to the point where the community feels comfortable with, that our streets are in good shape and well-maintained. That's the goal.
Would this help us in any way on 13th Street, knowing we're sort of at the mercy of the state on what can be done to mill and overlay or replacement or whatever has to be done? The state kind of holds us accountable, but also we can't do anything without their approval.
I would say the state has built a custom system that is substantially more robust than this. They scan 100% of the state system on an annual basis, and there's a lot more data that goes back behind that as part of that AI intelligence behind their system. This is a very cost-effective way to do that for a municipality. I don't know that I would say this would help us on that. I think their analysis of what needs to be done is the correct analysis.
They would be doing their own assessments of a state highway, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Did they forget Norfolk?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I think they forgot our
Just
task.
Somebody I'd ask.
Asking for a friend.
I mean, we haven't heard any complaints about 13th at all.
Yeah,
We had this discussion earlier for all who
I don't know how
weren't
to
here.
appropriately answer those questions.
Steve, part of this street scan, was signs included in this?
So as part of this contract, when they do the scan collects a lot of data. And as part of this contract, we would be asking for them to extract the street sign information. Currently, we don't have any kind of a street sign database that we manage or maintain our street signs from. This would capture all of the street signs within the city, and then we would put those into our GIS system and/or use their management system to maintain those. But so that is part of this contract. We think that's a really good idea. We're at the time where more and more communities are managing those. Again, it's almost impossible for just to know what we have out there and what the condition is. So this is gonna send back what the street sign is, what the condition of it is. It is not necessarily gonna address reflectivity. If it tells us for those signs that come back in poor condition, we'll go out there and check those for reflectivity, specifically if they're stop signs or that type of a control.
Any other questions or comments? Not so much a question, but a comment. I think this is just another step in the ongoing process of establishing a technical, scientific approach to street maintenance and scoring. And I can say I think that makes it a lot easier for a body of elected officials to approach scoring and prioritizing and advancing projects. So appreciate the staff work, Steve, that you've taken upon yourself over the years to get this in place, because it helps make a difference. Any other comments or questions or input on this? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Okay, that is the end of our agenda, but I understand that the requestee for the proclamation for the Working Terrier Day is maybe here in the crowd now to receive the proclamation? Yes? Terrier proclamation? Yep. Let's get a picture.
I also brought the one from the state.
Oh, wow, you're showing us up. What am I supposed to do with that?
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. It was
You want to say a few words about the
Well, it was
Terrier Day?
a very good weekend. We had people from all over, including UK, and people flew in Omaha, drove here. We had